How's it going out there? Peace and blessings to everybody out there. I want to go ahead and get into this message, man. I want to really get to the bottom of who ruined the black woman's image. Who ruined the black woman's image? Who gave the black woman the image that she has now? Who ruined her image? Just like a World's Waldo, because we all know that black men get blamed for everything. We are in a society of a simping society, a society full of a bunch of defeated beta males, males who don't have any pride about themselves, and it's a bunch of, and this is a secular society that's fell so far from God. It's a shame. Like, people, when you get to talking about the Lord, people they scattering and running like the light men shine on vampires and roaches. It's a and it's a shame. This is why the black people is in the plight. Black men and women are in the predicament that they're in, because these are the chosen people, the progenitors of all of the races, the first of all the races. And this group of people, the people brought here on slave ships, this group of people here still rebels, like, and they fell so far from their help, their first love, the Lord themselves, Jesus Christ. They fell so far from that and abandon those laws. It's the laws that's, like, if you look in the book of Deuteronomy, there's laws of life. God has, in the New Testament, there's laws, moral laws, ways to live and govern yourself. But yeah, who really ruined the black woman's image? Who got her out here? People basically, so what is the black woman's image look like from other groups of people? All I can say is what I hear. You hear this from white women, you hear this from other races of men. And we can talk about throughout history. So black women, hey, they're looked at stereotypically as being loud, combative. Now they're gaining new stereotypes of being disloyal. Some of the most disloyal group of women, dysfunctional. They have. I don't think this. It's not me saying this. This is the stereotype of other races. They think that they have, when they get mad, and you know how you could tell how they really think about you is when they get mad at you. You understand? If another racial woman get mad at a black woman, that's when she start telling the truth about her. You know what I'm saying? It's the same way with a black man. They'll just bring out the stereotypes. If they can't find anything, they'll just stereotype them. And those stereotypes come from the collective group. You understand? And the perception of it, that's the perception they have. It is what it is, It's so you also have the perception that they have nappy hair. But then on the flip side, you have a group of people who love and envy black hair. So it's two sides of a coin, but that is a stereotype. And we're talking about negative stereotypes. So you also have negative stereotype of black women is that they're promiscuous. This comes from rap videos, King magazine. What women got to understand, and in other groups of women, what they understand is they not siding with OnlyFans models. They may not even be Christian women. They may not even be religious women. But what they do understand is they'll never put hoes like Madonna on a pedestal. She had to go to the black community. Madonna was always ostracized and looked at as weird amongst white people, the mainstream, affluent white society. Sure, they like to get a kick out of it and saw her as being shocking. Same with there's other women like that. The Coco from Ice-T wife. Not calling her a hoe, man. No disrespect. I'm just saying, before she was married to Ice-T, the Caucasian race wasn't embracing her like that. They weren't. They embraced the Sharon Stone types. The model, the statuesque type of. It's just a difference. Okay, they have more value in they women than just putting the hoes at the forefront. The problem is, the thing is a lot of black women think that's, they think that that's the easy route to money. Like that's in that ratchet mentality. That's another thing. The ratchet mentality. That's another stereotype. Who created that? Is it the black man who gave the black woman, who make her act like she acts? Does he tell her on a daily basis? No. Now he don't have no control over her. So, and she's still out here, and other groups of people have that stereotype amongst black women, even when they try to hide it. You understand? It has to be genuine that you don't act like that. So that's, we have those stereotypes, and again, this, you also have again with the promiscuous with the promiscuous narrative or stereotype. This comes from, like I said, with King magazine. We all remember that. Blacktail. I mean, all of these things that, and it's, when you think about it, throughout time, like even black exploitation films with Pam Grier, Coffee, movies like that. You saw Pam Grier, every movie she had to get naked. Every movie she was taking out the boobies. Every movie, Pam Grier was looking real good too. Pam Grier is one of the best looking women of her time. You know how, like, back in certain times, like in these times, you got more, a lot of fake women, filtered women. You got a lot of phoniness going on. It's a lot of, plastic surgery. You got a lot of more decent looking women, and you have more access to the internet and things like that. But back in the days, all the way up into the 90s, like, you could have pinpointed the women of the time. There were certain women who you was like, man, every man knew, that she had something special. Not just that she was a hoe or she was taking off her clothes. Nah, she had something special about her. Pam Grier was one of those women of the time. But back to this topic, she was being exploited. And if you had on the outside looking in, you wouldn't see her image as being wholesome. She didn't have the same, and she didn't never, and Pam Grier was in tons of movies, but she never gained the same accolades, the same reverence as those white actresses like that I just named, like a Meryl Streep or, one of those glamorous white actresses. They never painted Pam Grier in that light. Now, what I want to ask you, that brings me to the point, who created these images? Who promoted the image of the black woman and has it looked at to where it's at today? Because if you listen to people like Cynthia G and others who are on YouTube with the rhetoric that they have, they'll have you think that it's the black man's fault, that everything's his fault. Like, this is just little girl gone astray. She'll have you think that it's the black man, and not just Cynthia G, not just picking on her and pointing her out. It's tons of women and men who out here doing this, selling this false narrative, man. What y'all doing is y'all pushing a false narrative, man. I mean, I'm saying it's sad that y'all trying to do that for cash grab. It's like we could, because some of the stuff that she says is true. But meshing truth with lies is what Satan does. It's still a lie. You understand? It's still inaccurate. You understand? It's still not accurate to the true history of things and the way things went. You want to, that's why when people get on their panels and contrast that narrative, they can't have any decent black men. They can't have any black men who've built anything, and we know that that's not the case. But when those people come around, they don't want to talk to them. You have black men who right now are doing things, building with other black men who have collectives. It's not many. You understand? I will admit that. It needs to be more. It needs to be more at this point. You understand? There are, and that's why I say it's a lot of truth in the things that are said, but then they're filled with why don't you just stick to that instead of trying to be so salacious, and that stuff will work. You know what I'm saying? And then people will get behind you, and then we all are, everything will be everything. We'll be saying the same thing. But so that brings me to this. Who caused this image? Was it the black man? Let's go to the point of black exploitation. That's perfect. Let's just start there. I'm going to start in a linear timeline. Linear means I'm going to go in a straight line from the earliest to current, from early times to current times. So we're gonna start with black exploitation. We don't even have to go. We're not gonna go as far as slavery. That's not even relevant in this case here because we already know black women have been exploited, and black people have been exploited since since they've been brought over here with slavery. But we're talking about during civilized times here, when black people had a choice. Black men and women have a choice. They had a choice. Okay. So in the black exploitation times, you had these films coming out left and right, Dolomite, all these other things. You know the Mac. We are familiar with those Penitentiary, these type of movies. But when you think about it, these movies weren't created by. There were no black men who owned studios. And these movies were in the same stores, blockbusters, same movie stores that you had the other the white movies in, the affluent movies. But this is when they went to the black section, this is what you had to choose from. It was a black exploitation section. That's what they had to choose from us. That's what they was giving us the opportunity to offer. Even black men, coming in with the same type of stereotypical roles, man. That's what they thought that we had to offer. It was basically just a modern day minstrel show or a modern day auction, just or modern day showing of a buck. Basically, just exploiting him again in front of the whole world, showing that black men is good for nothing but sex and violence. That's what happened in the black exploitation era. And like again, there were no black studios producing these films. You could say, well, the black men chose to be in it. They was in it and they knew that women was being exposed. Well, what makes them more virtuous than the women who was there exposing themselves? The women portraying themselves as prostitutes. The women taking themselves they taking their clothes off on camera. Do you know what that take for a woman? But no, she was trying to be an actress and so was he. He was trying to get paid. You understand? That's why the black man, that's where the pimp mentality came from. That's where that stemmed from. The black man saw that, at the time, a lot of black women were being exploited, even then, by white men. Porno was coming out. Even those, like Hustler magazines, all of that was coming out. No black men own those companies. Do you have black women over the internet up in arms? This how you can see. This is a pretty eerie to me, and it's not all black women, but it's definitely it's only a small number who are on the black man's side and doing these things, because you don't see, and it's telling because you don't see a huge. And let me get this out. I mean, again, this is pretty telling. You don't see a huge number of black women up in arms against the white man for putting them out there with these images in such as porn, hustler. He created those images for them. You don't have them say anything. What they do is they praise him for that. They praise him like he liberated them to let them get into porn and participate in exploit in their own destruction. But then they demonized the black man who didn't have anything to do with it, who couldn't even stop it if he wanted to, because you would have done it anyway. You say nothing about that. All you do is you demonize the black man. That's like, that's typical of people, man. What you do is you try to pick on the lower hanging fruit. You pick on what you do, you pick on the easiest target is what you do. You see the black man, he's in your vicinity the same way that, you have, and what's reciprocated, unfortunately, is a lot of violence, but domestic violence, because you women who have that mindset still want to deal with black men. I think you should get away from it. You should take a page from Cynthia G. If you don't want to deal with black men, you understand? Please do what you do quickly. I think you should leave and divest and don't come back. But if you do, I think it's not safe for you to be. Don't even entertain that YouTube rhetoric and things like that. Don't bring that home to your black man, putting that extra problems on him, stuff that he ain't had nothing to do with. Because that's gonna make him feel like there's no hope. And when a black man, when any man starts to feel like there's no hope, you see when white men feel like there's no hope. They wife leave them, sleeping with another man. She might probably sleeping with a black man or something like that. They have kids together. She finna take the kids and just rape him in court. Man, he feel like there's no hope. And you see them going ballistic. You know, you say you might find that woman in a trunk somewhere. Nobody, everybody just like, oh man, she was trying to do him wrong and all this. There's no sympathy for the black man. There shouldn't be no sympathy for any man who's snapping like that anyway. You shouldn't be snapping. You should have a mindset, a pimp's mentality. Real pimps don't even have to slap their women or touch them. Which brings me back to the point in blaxploitation. That at that time you had those, like I said, movies like Coffee, Penitentiary. Every one of those movies, you had a black woman being exploited. You know how many times the white director, probably shot that scene. Like Johnny, Leroy, take off your pants. Now, Keisha, let me see you take your pants off. Take that wig off, and then say, well, you ain't gonna get none of this if you don't do this. Yeah, I like it like that. That's realistic. Jim Bob, you see that? That's real TV. And he put that out there and shipped it out to the mainstream. But do you have any smoke for him? I wonder. Which brings me, we can go on to the 80s. The night this continued on throughout the 80s. Porn increased. When you saw black porn stars were recruited by white men and white recruiters and directors. They paid them a lot less. Paid them a lot less to do a lot more hardcore porn. You've seen this and do a lot more work. You've heard this from come out of the black porn star's own mouth. So you have that going on all throughout the 80s. More movies coming out where black women is stereo. Now the stereotypes in films are just, they're still there, but now black people are getting a lot more affluent roles. They not looked at as, they not just having to be some prostitute or some, jive talker or something like that. But still, don't get me wrong, black people are still stereotyped in films, tokenized. Look at shows like Saved by the Bell. You had tokenized black people. It could have been more black folks in that group. You only had one, Lisa. I don't know what AC Slater was. He's ambiguous like The Rock. But during the time of the 80s, you had what? What do we have going on in the black media? We had Jet Magazine. You had hip hop just having its beginning, its origins and things like that. Just catching when in films, you had black women in films. You also had black women do like with the swirling, like that argument is done, like with this race loyalty. No, you had black women swirling, marrying white men, like I said, talking about worshiping them, still dating them. You had that going on. So this isn't new. I don't want to get on that false narrative about swirling anymore. But you had women, vanity, women who were with Prince. Like, look at women like that. This woman's name was Vanity. Now, don't get me wrong. I know what black women will say. They'll say, she was a light skin. She was this. And don't get me wrong. One thing is true is that a lot of black men have a mixed woman fetish. They have a light-skinned woman fetish. There's reasons behind that. It's just a preference, though. I like light-skinned women, but I also prefer dark-skinned women. I like all women. So it's just a preference. You understand? But there have been songs here that were like, I like Yellow Bone, but back in the 80s, they didn't have any songs like that. But this is just stemming from slavery for black men too. How they, and the woman just had the exotic look. Like, it's pretty much simple. And she had longer hair, all that stuff going on. You recently just had a movie called, I forget the name of this movie, but it was a horror movie. You could look it up. It was a horror movie with hair as the premise, and it had Kelly Rowland in it and Usher in it. And this was the setting of the movie was in the 80s or around that time. I think it was in the 80s, and you could see like you should watch that movie. That did a good job of capturing the time in that film. That was a kudos to them, but that was one of the better horror movies of this time. So they had you had black women, like I say, just darker skinned women like Kelly Rowland and who's her complexion, who have a Lupita Nyong'o's complexion, or any women, just women with my type of hair. You understand, like just a natural black woman, not mixed, a natural black woman. She felt like she started to see that she was having a hard time. You understand? She was having, but she still had her own flavor. You had shows like A Different World, contrasting these things. Shows like A Different World brought another light. You know, now these shows were mainly black cast, mainly black influenced, and this is what they showed. You had the Cosby Show at that time. You see how though I don't care what Bill Cosby did behind the scenes, but did you see any of his daughters in the Cosby Show acting like acting ratchet, or acting like, taking off clothes and disrespecting themselves and allowing their father to be disrespected, not being um women of honor and respect? No, all of his family, all of the women in his family were taken care of. He found them. He was a doctor. He found they were righteous women. He found them good men to be with. This was the image that was promoted by black men. Like, now, don't get me wrong. It wasn't like Bill Cosby. But see, Bill Cosby was powerful in that. It wasn't like he owned the studio at the time, but he did have a big hand. Basically, he came up with the show. Basically the same way with Martin. Bill Cosby had a big hand in that. In promoting that image and making sure that that's what was put out. He did that. Unlike I said in the blaxploitation films, they didn't have any creative control. That was a movie. That was a film, and that's back when black men didn't have no skin in the game. Bill Cosby was a legend. Even then, he was a comedian who was coming out, a red hot comedian coming off a lot of films. He had control, so that was the image he wanted to portray. But look at how black women have demonized him. Look at how people have turned on him. Even black men have turned on him. They forgot about that. We forgot about that. We want to rewrite history. We just want to write people off to fit the narrative, and I don't respect that. I ain't with that. So you had, like I said, A Different World. Man, they brought a lot of looks and showed a lot of different sides to black women. Real normal black women. Jada Pinkett was in there. Jasmine Guy. It was a lot of people in there. Even Tupac made an appearance on there at one time. Man, so but still in that time, porno was picking up. On this flip side, you had like I said, films still with the stereotypes coming out. Still a lot of those films still had stereotypes coming out against black people, perpetuate stereotypes of black people. You had the tokenization running rampant. It's got to be one black person or none. In a horror movie, it's going to be one black person, and they had to die first. So you think that was black men, and it don't matter if he was a black man or woman, but do you think that was black men's idea to do that? To only portray, if it's a black woman, she got to be tokenized, and she got to be looked at different than everybody else. Don't know. She can't have one of the white boyfriends, or she can't have the main star of the show. Like, that's a no. That'll never happen. Who did that? That wasn't black men who controlled that narrative at the end of the day. So again, I'm trying to figure out where's the black man in this when it comes to ruining the image of black women, or is it like, or do they have a hand in it? Just like anyone, like who's a human being, you have full autonomy. You have control over yourself. So when it gets to these pornos that are increasing, more and more black women are doing them now. We all know that at the time, no black men controlled no porno studios. They didn't control who got in the movies, who did what. They didn't even control who they were sleeping with. So again, I ask, who has a hand at destroying the image there? At that time, you had, but see, at that time, what just saved them from having from themselves and doing in the total degradation and stuff that you have now, it's number one, you had the number one thing is you had the regular normal black women who weren't having any of that. They moral character was higher than that of other women. And other women knew that. You understand? They knew that. They did. Women like my grandmother, um, great grandmother, stuff like that, they were cutter ladies. They wasn't worried about cheating on their husband and exploring and doing nothing like that. They wanted to stay at the house, they keep their head down, get with their man, be a helpmeet to their man and help him with his dreams, man, and be a part of building a family. They wanted the greater things in life. And again, they was able to attract the men who would do anything and die for them. Do anything for them and die for them. Like I said, my grandmother never worked a day in her life. Not saying in this day, see, in this day and age, it's different though. And I mean, you darn her, you really need two incomes, like for normal people. But you have you had those women, and they were combating the narrative. They wanted to they saw that they wanted to preserve their image, so they didn't allow porn. They shamed porn stars. How slut shaming now, how that's looked at as a bad thing. No, that was the ultimate good thing for them. That's how you have to shame things. They separated themselves. That's what you have to do. If you're not down with something, what you have to do is separate yourself. The light can't have company with the dark. Evil can't have company with good. God can't keep company with sin and Satan. He can't do that. You understand? So those women were combating that, and the black men loved them. Those men, like I said, you had intact families. That's where you have the 80s babies like myself and other people come from. Now, black people will still getting married. Now that's when, but towards the end of the 80s is when the rebellion began. I mean, it just, and it cycles. Like I said, it's not the first time. These things just cycles, but this is where this is where women, and it's not just black women. Like, I'm not blaming just black women for doing these things, but I'm just telling you the proper history, man. And really just so we can understand who ruined the image, man, of the black woman, or who has the image looked at as what it's looked at today. So you had, more and more women coming up also in media, singing, doing things. You had the Supremes and all of that. You had your Patti LaBelle's, then you started to have Janet. Like Janet was coming out toward the end of the 80s, I think. But you had don't quote me on that, but you had more black women getting into media. Holly Berry's and things getting her start. You had this coming towards towards the end of the 80s, early 90s, towards the so, and then don't you heard what I said. You had more black women getting into pornographic exploitation. And we all know how in porn, again, we if you don't have no smoke for these men, then you really don't have anything to say, because it's like you don't want any solutions, or you don't want to call out the person who caused this. You just want to pick on the person who you think is the weakest at the time. But you understand, the Lord, it's not always the Lord reveals things. The Lord jumps 0 to 60. The Lord gives power. It's not always gonna be like that. You understand? And the black man, a lot of individual black men are attaining power. Men like myself, and the other brothers who are, trust me, we gonna link up. We gonna link up very soon. And it's other men who are already then linked up and building things together. I know them. My circle is full of them. Like, I actually live it. So, and in this day and age, man, all this talking, white supremacy is a construct, and it's really a construct that's on autopilot in black people's mind right now. Black women are upholding it, in some form and of for some form of power or something. But it's not all black women. But let me get back to the point. Let me get back to it. Where we at? We in the 80s, 90s, late 80s, early 90s. You have hip hop, things like NWA starts to boom. Things like you have things like Black Tail magazine. The pornos are starting to get porno companies are starting to come out more boldly and with black content, with black, like, and with the content of black people and being stereotypical. Like, now it's niggas is in the, like, it's about niggas in the hood. They gotta meet the black woman. She's always a prostitute. When you look at the black, those, it's not no scenarios of the black woman being somebody's girlfriend. No, she's a prostitute. Black street hookers was what some of these things were called. And this was created by a white man who had whole series exploiting hundreds, if not thousands, of black women, young black girls. You didn't have black women protesting that at the time. At the time, you had some black women who just would do that, go get some money, do that, and then they'll have black boyfriends. But then they'll be over there sucking off the white director. Every time, even if the scenes was with black men, that the white men had to get a sample first. The director or the guy who, owned the company, they had to get their sample first. So they was already tapping the black chicks. Like, so even if she was sleeping with the black man first, that's why you saw in a lot of those scenes, and I'm talking adult to adults here. That's why you saw in a lot of those scenes that the black women, they was also doing scenes with white men. They'll do scenes with black men. They also do them with white men. These women were out there just doing the most. Then you had Black Tail magazine. A lot of women were in Black Tail magazine in the 90s, busting it loose. I'm showing, talking about, just they had new women every month, man, like just busting it loose. Like, then you had women writing in the women readers, they viewership. You had some things that were contrasting that in the 90s. Now, don't get me wrong, you had black men. Like I said, rap was becoming more to the forefront. And you had stuff like rappers like Snoop Dogg, black men like Snoop Dogg, saying things like bitches ain't shit. And basically putting blaxploitation, bringing it, modernizing it, and putting it on wax. Snoop Dogg was the first album cover to actually sexually exploit black women, like on the cover, and in the booklet, in the pamphlet, and things like that. You had other artists do that afterwards, but Snoop was definitely one of the first. And so you had that black men doing that, and black men following suit to that in hip hop. Then you started to have other, like I said, other rappers started to do that same thing. Artists like Jay-Z put women, just basically follow suit. It became the norm in hip hop to have, if you got a video, you had to have show black men with a bunch of women, you know what I'm saying, sipping drink, and that's the life. Like, you had to show people, you had to show the life. Like, Scarface is one of the films who perpetuated things like that. You understand? That promoted that in the black community. But So you also had artists simultaneously at the same time. You had artists like Luke, uh, making these in Two Live Crew. Luke and the Two Live Crew. They were also one of the first ones to basically exploit black women on wax and put them on the album covers or all with that image. Yes, they did create that. Yes, that's you can call him responsible for doing that. But there weren't many. You didn't out of all the rappers who was out at the time, you didn't see rappers doing that and following suit. Yeah, Ice-T, had his wife on there, but so did Prince. Prince had one of his women on there. The woman he was with at the time. I mean, come on. That's just how. Don't get me started on. I'm pretty sure it's numerous rock artists who didn't had scantily clad white women. These rappers took these things from rock artists, but Run DMC and artists like that, they weren't doing that. This was just a culture shift. But again, who was behind promoting and putting all in the saying the final okay of all of this? Who said you can do this? Who said that? Who owned the record labels at the time? Who was exploiting everyone? I'll wait. We know who. And who started consuming all of that, even to this day, who's like the biggest consumer of hip hop and the destruction and degradation of the black community. I'll wait. But we all know the answer to that. And this is the same group of people that you choose to run to. This is the same group of people who you think got your best interests at heart, who you see is so much better morally than the black man. It's pretty telling. Yeah, I'm talking to you, black woman. Where's the smoke for that man? Where is Cynthia G's? We already did the video on the ghetto gaggers. Where is and that's just now. Like the white man got so emboldened, they'll just put, and it's not just you write this off because it's in pornography or something like that. You know how many people consume that? You understand? Even and people know like it's in society. Like these women gotta go home. They tell people know what they're doing, and it's not just in ghetto gaggers. This is all type of. They still have all type of porn with black women and getting exploited, and to this day, these black women volunteer. They have new members, new volunteers every day. Who is responsible for that? What is the black woman supposed to say? I mean, the black man supposed to save you from yourself? Like, come on. That's retarded. Like, don't you can't do that. So all through the 90s, and like I said, you had that traction picking up with the hoochie mama mentality. But you had movies. Now you had black film creators like John Singleton emerging. Those films contrasted and showed a different side, a better side of the black plight than just those stereotypes that you would be used to if you just depended on the images that white media put out. And those images are, they either again have to, they didn't know what to do with like the black woman. They were tokenizer, or she was becoming, I don't know, like they just didn't know how to promote her image. But it was black media who was, because again, it's black men who know black women in and out. It's black women who know black men. Like we know each other. So the media we put out, that's gonna be the most accurate. Again, those tokenized roles aren't really accurate to the black community or things like that. But so you had, yes, again, artists like Snoop Dogg. You had artists like Snoop. Let me use him for Two Live Crew. Even when Tupac came out with I Get Around, you had, go back and look at Tupac's I Get Around video. You had tons of black women in that video. What are you going to tell me? That they were making them do that under duress? Were those women being made to do that under duress?
even in, the Get Around video, Tupac had a line said, I don't want it if it's you tease me. I don't want it if it's that easy. Basically was clowning the women who was in the video, saying, and that was the narrative of a lot of hip hop artists and black men. That hip hop commentary was like YouTube right now for a lot of black men. You know, the hip hop for black men was like YouTube. That was their outlet to vent. So if you listen to the music, that shows you how they felt about everything. And Tupac and a lot of artists reiterated that they're not talking about all women, but it's a lot of bitchs out there, and that's what they were saying. And so it's hard. You can't just, when you're doing music, it ain't gonna be the disclaimers. But what I say is, right alongside them, you had those women who were participating in the foolishness and shenanigans. It wasn't just women who was participating, sleeping with rappers and being in their videos. These women were participating, sleeping in the lifestyle. They were sleeping with drug dealers. Look at the woman who set up Tupac. She knew Haitian Jack Nim. You know what I mean? How does a woman know these type of men? That's because you trying to date them. Like, that's because you seeking these men out. You want these men as intimate partners because you want to use them and get something from them. That's what's happened. That's why you had a lot of black women getting with these dope boys and niggas selling dope and terrorizing they communities and things like that, and be in and out of jail, not there for their children. Who told this? And this seems like when black men bring this up, it go out one ear or out the other, or like, it's not, matter of fact, it seems like it's just go over people's head, over black women's head. Like, you don't get that. You have full autonomy in the men you choose. Oh, you're bashing us. How is that bashing? That's how you in the position you in. You understand? So again, when those women were gravitating towards those men like Snoop Dogg and things like that, a lot of the black women in the community were gravitating to, so they were being a part of those parties, and like Dr. Dre was putting themselves in positions like that. It's not a situation where if you build it, they'll come. Because if that's the case, it should happen in the reverse. When you see us building, the brothers building positive things, then you should see black women gravitating to that, like, like moths to a flame. But no, it had to be negative. Like, they wanted to do that. That was again, because right now you could tell if they didn't want to do it. Right now tells you if they did or not. It tells you. Right now tells you how they felt then. Like, you can use the modern times to see the outcome that they wanted. So, 'cause, you know what I'm saying? So you can link those things, the mindsets. So again, it wasn't solely black men's fault. That part of it in the 90s is where I will digress and give 50% to black women and 50% onus on the black men there, because the black men did keep those images going. You understand? Just because the hoes is black, it's a big group of women hoeing in it, of your women putting themselves out there like that and being lost. You don't have to entertain that and keep them in that state of mind. You can actually, try to help them out. But so that's the shame on black men part of that, of this video, and of of the timeline. When that came, that time, and we were in power, and we had it on, and this stems all the way up to the early 2000s, up until like 2009. When we had our time, and we owned, the black men, a lot of black men just kept doing wrong. They didn't switch the trajectory up, like how you see a young Jeezy doing, or how even like the biggest hypocrite of them all, Snoop Dogg, he was with his wife for a long time. I mean, he been with her for a long time. LL Cool J, he switched it up. Like, even though ladies love Cool J, he's been with his wife for a long time. Ice Cube is another one. Been with his wife for a long time. So there were men contrasting this narrative. And you also had, like, in movies, like I said, in the films that were created by black directors, You didn't just have black women being exploited. Movies like the play, even in movies like the Players Club, you had strong black women being depicted, changing their life and being righteous and being decent, good women, still of higher moral character. This is what I will say. You know, the highest of all the women. Like you had women like Diamond. She had one of the best quote, and knows her cousin who had one of the best quotes in the movie, and it was like they was like using what I got to get what I want. And she replied that if that's all you got, you must don't want much. Or it may have been in the reverse. But I took away from that you don't, if this is what you want, like in just some change to spend, you know, some a little money here and there, you know, to try to use your looks and to get, you know, I'll do, you know, strip club or whatever, OnlyFans. You must really, you know, don't have much to offer. You know, that's because that's not tangible. Like you don't want the things that are tangible. You don't want family, the things that really that money can't buy that bring happiness. You don't want true loyalty from your man, from the men you with, or people in your life. You don't want true friendship and things like that. You don't want true accomplishment and you know, stuff like that. And that's what she was saying. That's basically what I got from that. But you had movies like that, they combating the narrative. So it brings us to today. Let's fast forward a little bit because I don't want to make this video 5 hours long. But we're going to fast forward to today. Who started who started the trend for women for turning around, showing their behind, and before they show their face? I'll wait. Who started that? Did black men do that? Did white women start that? Did Hispanic women start the trend of taking pictures and selfies by first turning around and looking backwards? Like, who started that? I'll wait. Okay, yeah. I knew you knew the answer to that. It was black women. And I don't know where if a lot of that stems from, you know, insecurity because that's what they believe to, like, and no pun intended, but they believe that to be their best asset. So to sell that and put that image out there, started the trend of turning around, showing they behind, and then, you know, then looking back and just catching the silhouette, you know, a piece of their face, or some of them didn't even turn around at all, and you just see the behind. The reason why it's emphasis on big butts and things like that is because in society today is because of black women. You understand? Now that's the gift and the curse. You also have the um women just out here, like I said, they want to get these other races of women want to get these big butts and they want to show it off and walking out in boy shorts and lingerie under their clothes in public, like walking out in lingerie in public. Who started that trend? Who, like, don't get me wrong, we seen Madonna and all that be pro, provocative or whatever, but I want to know who started the trend of wearing, who made it fashionable. Who made it fashionable to do that, to walk out in pasties with some lingerie? We all know black men and women are the most influential when it comes to fashion. We know that. Like we influence most of the whole world when it comes to style and things. That's one of our gifts. So I want to ask, who promoted the image and put the image out of bending over, and who put the image out of sticking your tongue out in everything that you do? This was something that was promoted by in black pornos. Don't get me wrong. You know, A lot of this probably comes from those ideas, probably come from a black man that they got with telling them to do that, telling them that that's what he liked in the bedroom, or to send him some pictures like that because he and told her to do that, to do a pose like that and send me the pictures, or or we gonna do a video or something like that, send me the video. That should not be, that private life stuff should not be equated to the forefront. That shouldn't be, I mean, that shouldn't be taken to the forefront. That shouldn't be presented to the mainstream media. Your private life, like, things shouldn't be presented to mainstream. But what black women have done, they've used the thing. They know, and why have you done that? Why has that been done? Because of influence. They know that they can get, they heard black men basically tell them, the black men they with, be like, look, that's what I like. Show, do that for me, send me that picture, whatever, whatever. They've just monetized it. You just monetized it. That's it. Is that supposed to be some high moral code? No. So what black women have done, and they said this even, and you could tell, bring me to the hip hop. Look at who black women have gotten behind, they've rallied behind. They like, and they'll more rather gravitate behind a Nicki Minaj and a Foxy Brown type than a Queen Latifah or a Lauryn Hill type. Who fault is that? Is that the black man fault? No, I think not. So it looked like you need to be, I'm gonna end it there. I don't even have to go any further. I mean, there is no much further to go, because the times today, we see what's going on, man. We already know, we could just see the end result, like, of this image here that the black ones promoted in the music. Look at every woman you see who think they got they don't even let their talent speak for itself. What they're doing is trying to they selling you the sex first and then the talent later. That just goes to show you, like, what you really value in and where your mindset really is. Look at this, the all of the women who are right now who getting any bop or shine, they down with the agenda of basically exploit. Slut shaming is a bad thing now again. So you can't, when black women adopted that mentality, the Amber Roses and things like that, when they adopted the Amber Rose mentality, that is part of the feminist agenda, was when they basically ruined their own image. That's it. When you abandon that high moral code that you had, you gonna just be another statistic, you know what I'm saying, and have your image ruined. And just become like anybody else, just getting exploited. But black people are getting overly exploited. That's how it's been. But black women allowing themselves to be overly exploited. Again, they don't let their talent speak for itself. I see too many female artists just worried about taking it off, looking good, you know, getting turned out, who they sleeping with, how many people they can sleep with, get with. It's just bad, and no one's making them do it. Look at Megan Thee Stallion. Her image is not looking good. She out here lying. She's sleeping with her best friend's man. She out here like she perpetuating all the stereotypes. It's not black men. So with that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I hope I gave y'all some insight, and I just wanted to put this game right back in its proper perspective. So with that being said, it's your man, Nico B, Blackeffect Enterprise. I'm gone.